Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Dee and this is Market Stalkers. I'm a professional futures trader, but you don't have to be a professional to use exactly the same types of strategies that the pros use. I actually have my own systematic approach that explains how to bump up your existing trading skills and to start mastering the seemingly mystical craft of day trading for income. But actually, there's nothing mystical about it. No crystal balls, no sixth sense. Markets are definitely not random. There are certain market mechanics at play every single day that might seem a little bit complex at first, but like any other skill, you start off thinking that everything is difficult and it takes time and effort, and then it gets slowly easier over time. And the main challenge is to not trade like a lunatic. Tough one, I know.
One more trade.
I have a playlist called Trader Issues. I highly recommend checking that out because it aims to help traders with various common and not so common issues. If that's something that interests you, then I suggest subscribing to this channel and binge watching the rest of my videos. Now, in today's video, I'll be talking about a problem that faces many newly funded prop traders. There's a lot of remote prop trading companies out there today, and it's something that I've noticed happening a lot. The newly funded trader jitters. Many newly funded traders tend to lose their accounts in the first few weeks of getting funded. So, you have this big goal, get a funded account. And then when it's there, suddenly you realize that, this is just the beginning. It's not the end goal. This is where the real work has to happen. Oh shit, right? Now I've met lots of decent traders through my coaching and instructing, and these traders, they're very, very comfortable doing prop firm challenges. The online remote prop firms, they've become an industry in its own right. This was a new thing only a few years ago, but now it's like, there's loads of them. And obviously, you have some scammy companies who either have like impossible challenges or just can't do the basic math and statistics, and then they go out of business. But for the more established ones, which are legit, such as TopStep and Earn to Trade and FTMO, I've had quite a few traders who pass the challenge and then they royally fuck it up in the first 2 weeks on the live funded account. So why is that? What is this weird thing that happens? Is it the markets? Is it bad luck? Or is it you being pushed outside of the comfort zone and realizing that there's no going back? There's no reset button. So then you start to psych yourself out. The same thing happens to traders who are awesome on their demo accounts and they're like, right, I'm ready, and they put 50K of their own money into the live account expecting the same type of performance that they had on the sim without any real world pressures. 99% of the traders will have a total car crash of a first month. Depending how deep your self-limiting beliefs run, there are some people who quickly trade themselves out of their main account, whether it's your own hard-earned money or prop firm's money, and then they never trade again, right? Because you have fear of failure that sets in, self-doubt, psychological traumas, especially if the 50K of the money was your savings that you shouldn't have traded in the first place, because, let's face it, that is the money you cannot afford to lose. That disclaimer that I put at the beginning of nearly every trading related video that I do? Like, honestly, the amount of people who don't heed that advice is just astonishing. Now, why would you trade for a prop firm in the first place rather than just trading your own money? Well, that's a topic that I've already covered in this video. But just kind of the quick gist of the video, if you don't want to go and watch it, the first reason would be not to use your savings. The second reason would be to offset the risk to a company that can afford to lose that amount because, that's calculated into their business model. And the third reason is to scale your capital quicker. Because, a prop firm does not have a cap of 20K, 50K, 100K. If you trade well for them and you prove that you're not going to trade like a lunatic and you're making them money, they will eventually give you a couple of million in buying power to trade with. And that's something that 99.9% of people who start trading don't have access to. I mean, to be fair, some do. I have some multimillionaire traders on my coaching program who want to learn to trade because it intrigues them and they want to master a skill that the majority of the population finds impossible and magical. But when you go from a demo trading with no perceived consequences and pressures, or you're trading like a super small account and then you move to a main account, that requires a mental adjustment. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But before we go on, if you're liking the video so far, then please pat the like button for the YouTube algorithm, because A, it takes me a better part of the week to create these videos for you. And you know, liking my videos is a very simple, free way to help the channel out and to get me in front of other traders who are also on a similar quest to yours. A quest for more resources, better trading skills, and more time with your loved ones. You know, something that you cannot buy or trade is your time. So it's very valuable. By learning how to trade properly, you can trade less, have more money, and have more free time. So click the like button. Mental adjustment. Performing in high pressure situations. I always like to use an analogy of either sports or performing music. So trading and performing music, they're very, very similar. You can sing in your shower all you like, and you might even have a decent voice. But in your shower, no one cares whether you'll mess up a note, whether you'll sing off key, whether you'll forget lyrics. There's no band, there's no backing track, and there's no audience, so there's no pressure. But if I put you in Madison Square Garden tomorrow in front of 15,000 people without any prior experience, I would expose you to a shock that is live performance while people are watching. And guess what? It will be a traumatic experience for the first time, mainly for you, and maybe for, you know, a few musicians who are watching this kind of car crash performance in the audience. It's not because you're a bad singer. It's just that you've not had enough exposure to such an environment. High pressure environment where messing up leads to a real consequence, at least up in your own head, right? But go back a few steps and start singing in small pubs and clubs and work up to the bigger clubs and bars. Eventually, you get used to it. You get used to the bigger gigs. A few years down the line, they're just not a big deal anymore. So what I'm trying to say here is that instead of freaking out that you've failed on your first live funded account at a prop firm, in the grand scheme of things, of all the things you can fail at in life, that's probably one thing that you can just keep trying. Because prop firms of that sort, you know, the new remote industry that we have, they just don't care. Obviously, things are much more difficult if it's your own last bit of cash, but, you know, I'm not even going to go there, because these days you do have the remote prop firms where you don't need to risk your own money. You do a challenge, you prove that you can trade, and it's a fraction of a cost. And if you do end up trading your own cash, that's up to you. But heed my advice. Unless you have upwards of $500,000 for startup capital, don't expect that you'll be able to trade for wealth generation and to take money out to live on. That's just dreamland. Point being, it's okay to fail your first prop trader funded account. It's a learning curve. It's not an end game. In fact, by triggering something inside of you that caused you to fail the first funded account, it means that you've finally poked outside of your comfort zone. And that's the first step to the mental adjustment that will eventually follow. But you cannot quit at that point. You need to
get back on the horse.
And once you've pushed yourself over and over into that live funded account environment, eventually you will realize that it's really not that big of a deal. Once you manage to mentally and emotionally grow and adjust to this new norm, trading a live funded account will become just like trading during a challenge or on a demo account where there are no stakes involved. It will become the same. More to the point, losing a funded account is something that any prop trader has to go through as a rite of passage on your way to maturing as a pro. And even then, as a pro, sometimes it is the market. And you will go through a drawdown period just as you get your funded account. However, in most cases, it will be the trader's perspective that changes. You want to start trading, you don't want to miss out on the potential opportunity that will push you towards the profit buffer, and then you don't want to go into a drawdown. None of us do, right? But it happens, and sometimes it is what it is. As a trader, you have to be okay with that. And if you're not, you have to learn to be okay with it. When I got my very first funded account that wasn't my own money, I hit my daily loss limit and I was put back on the sim. And then I had to do another several weeks of trading to prove that I can trade responsibly again. And it really wasn't until about month 6 or 7 from the start of my prop trading apprenticeship that I even had any sniff of payouts. And you know, I was a really decent, reasonably successful swing trader before I went into day trading futures. I managed to turn like 2,000 pounds of my own money into 220,000 in the space of only 2 years. So, you know, I had some skill, but I just wasn't ready for the big leagues at the time, and certainly not for intraday. So how do you help yourself to get over the whole trading the funded account and messing it up? Well, the first thing is to understand that it is okay. Forgive yourself. But you want to acknowledge, you don't want to just be like, oh yeah, well, fuck it. You want to acknowledge the different steps that you've changed when you started trading the funded account. So that's where statistics can come in handy. Second thing is you want to do some exercise before you trade. That will get rid of a potential fight or flight response on a biological level. And then, of course, you have some affirmations, visualizations. I actually find these quite effective. Telling yourself that you can recognize the setups and that you will keep following your rules while taking the opportunities presented. In my pro development program, we actually have downloadable affirmations that mention market conditions and some basic setups as reminders as a part of that affirmation tape. But anytime you step away from your approach, that will affect you. So if you normally do 2 or 3 trades per day and suddenly you're on the funded account and you're doing 1 or none because you've gotten into a bit of a drawdown, that's a step away from your normal behavior. And that means you're taking the losses, but you're too afraid to take the next opportunity that comes along for the fear of an even deeper drawdown. If you've changed the time of day when you initiate your trades, that's also a change in behavior. Eager beaver. I got up, I want to trade on my new funded account. And that has nothing to do with the market. However, all of this, each and every change of your behavior, it can harm your usual performance. Now, obviously, if you have no idea where your edge lies and you're not quite there with your trading skills, and maybe you've passed the challenge, but it was almost like an accident, then this is not really the video for you. In that case, I would suggest going to my pro development program down in the description box and really learning to evaluate the market with viable professional strategies using real-time order flow events and price action, and not crystal balls and lagging indicators. Those really won't help you. And then along the way in the program, I actually list the factors. It's somewhere in level 2 and 3. I list the factors that can affect the entire approach you have, from risk reward you're expecting on your trades, right down to how many trades you do in a day versus your accuracy at the time. So, it's the overall approach is what matters. It's not any single individual component. It's really not just about how much risk per trade you're taking or just about what your accuracy is. It's probably about 6 or 7 things wrapped together that work on a seesaw. Disrupt one, and the balance of all the other components will start weighing on your performance a lot more. But if you've done all that, you know where your strengths lie, and you still find yourself failing the funded account, that's fine. It happened. It's for humans, okay? But then you have to review, correct, improve, dust yourself off, try again, and next time try not to change your behavior. Stick to the norms of your own good performance habits. And keep doing that until you manage to keep a hold of the funded account. For some people, this process could take 7 months, but more frequently, it will take a minimum of 2 to 3 years. It's a maturation thing, right? You don't happen to grow up and get wise in, 2 weeks. And I say 7 months up to 3 years. That's only if you keep pushing yourself into the funded accounts to get used to them. And then once you've remained funded at a prop firm for about a year or 2, that's the time to start trading your own cash. And hopefully by then, you will have increased your own funds via the performance payouts. So at that point, you're not going to be trading peanuts. Instead, it will be a viable venture based on your existing experience in the industry and a level of skill that has allowed you to scale up your existing capital. That's all I've got for you today. I'm going to wrap this video up here because, I really stuck at sign-offs, and I always kind of veer off and remember that there's something else that I wanted to say. And I'm doing it again. Anyways, check out some of my other videos that might be of interest. I'm off. Goodbye.